Welcome to the Launch Button Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors who found the courage to hit the launch button and take control of their destiny. Join me, Hugh Zaretsky, best-selling author, seasoned real estate investor, and serial entrepreneur, as we dive deep into inspiring stories and invaluable lessons that will empower you to break free from the ordinary and pursue your true passions. Are you feeling trapped in a job that drains your passion and leaves you yearning for more? Are you ready to accelerate your business and our real estate investing to take it to the next level? It's time to ignite your dreams and embrace the limitless possibilities that life has to offer. Get ready to launch into the life you've always desired by pressing the launch button. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Button Podcast. Today, we're going to really focus on some real estate stuff for everybody out there, especially talking about Zillow and some of the lawsuits that are going on there. We're going to talk about our upcoming kickoff event that we have here in 3 weeks. So those of you guys that want to get plugged in, if you take immediate action as this podcast drops, you'll be able to get a huge savings on that event as well. So lots of great things going on, and we're just going to dive right into it. We're back from California. We were out there for that great event with people from all around the globe, working together to come together with solutions for people for everyday problems, as well as hearing about all the great things going on with AI and everything like that. But again, today we're going to focus on some real estate. So let's go ahead and dive into this. A lot of you guys have heard about some of the potential lawsuits going on out there with Zillow, some of the different things that are going on, but it's hit like a whole new level. And we're just gonna jump in there with that with you guys, because as it's hit this whole new level, there's a lot of things that are going to come down in the industry. And this goes back to some of the same principles that we've talked about with people over time, and really being able to say, hey, this is how we truly need to do things. And this is truly how we need to protect ourselves from similar type of lawsuits. If you're in the real estate industry, if you're a business owner, this applies to you as well. We want to make sure that you are plugged in on this. We want to make sure that everything here is happening the right way. And what I mean by that is that we're out there looking at the different opportunities and also protecting ourselves. So let's start out here with Zillow and some of the things that are going on. You may have heard about these in the news, but there's a whole series of different lawsuits that have been dropped against them. And we want to make sure that we protect you from that. And so you're not sitting there in those very same situations, or your business ends up in those same situations. So let's talk about this. So the first lawsuit that was dropped back in October was their antitrust suit, right? Antitrust suit about Zillow and Redfin really, keeping the rental markets up. So that was the first thing that sort of dropped on that. And then it jumped to steering and deceptive practices. And a lot of people don't know this about Zillow. So we're going to give you some insider secrets. A lot of people go to Zillow and they think when they call Zillow, they call them up and say, hey, I saw this listing on your platform and I want to speak to the agent. A lot of people think they get directed to the actual listing agent, but that's not true. And this is where the second lawsuit, the steering and deceptive practices lawsuit, came in, where Zillow is actually charging people to be those agents that receive that phone call. I said they did. Zillow is actually charging people to receive that phone call, and it's called one of their flex agents, and they get the call, and then they contact the listing agent for you. So they're going to get a percentage of the commission, and then Zillow gets a percent of that commission, which can actually increase home buying costs. Some say as much as 40%. So think about that. You thought you were picking up the phone, you were using trusted Zillow, they were going to give you the best insight that you can on everything there. And yet you're being steered to a particular agent that paid for that ability to get the leads from Zillow, which is fair practice as long as you disclose it, right? So you're steering them there, and then they're contacting the listing agent. So that's where we're paying the double commission. You're not going straight to the listing agent there. So that was the second lawsuit that happened. And then on top of that, what happened was then it became a RICO case. Is Zillow a gangster? That's what we really want to know. Is Zillow a gangster? Because in November, they amended the lawsuit to include allegations of burning and churning to boost profits. What does that mean? They're using making agents use Follow Up Boss, and they get a percentage of that. In fact, one of the brokerages that was on our AI Launch Button AI platform, they said it was going to cost them too much to move over to our new platform, which there are some upfront costs on there. But moving from Follow Up Boss over, they're getting crushed on their monthly costs with Follow Up Boss. Why? Because Zillow gets a percentage of that. And then Zillow was having steering people again to use their funded solutions. And that's why we always talk about agents and people are like, hey, recommend me a lender. And we always tell people, and for years I've been telling people this, you got to recommend three lenders so they have three choices to go out there, get quotes, and be able to do that. And if you're going to receive a commission from them, you need to let them know at that point where you do the referral. Well, Zillow was quote unquote so semi-forcing agents because they were doing audits through Follow Up Boss. They were doing audits through their systems to see if the agent was actually referring people over to their lenders, and then agents that referred people to outside lenders were getting in trouble for doing that. So again, right, Zillow wanted to make sure that they were getting a percentage of everything going through there. And then the last lawsuit, right, that was recently filed against them has to do with being a monopoly. Now, we all know the game Monopoly, right? And that guy right there. But in this case, they were doing an agent referral to Premier Programs, require them to use, in-house mortgage solutions like we were talking about with their steering and deceptive practices and being able to do that. So there's like four lawsuits right now going on against Zillow. Now, I would have thought from the very beginning their Zestimator would have caused that, but they had some legal disclaimers in there because their Zestimator is not always correct, not always even in the ballpark when it comes to property values, but oftentimes sellers and buyers see that as the value. But that's not always the case. So, on that, understand that those are the four lawsuits going against Zillow right now, and this is going to change the way we look at and the way we go about doing real estate deals because so many people were getting used to using Zillow as their home finder. Zillow to do that, they thought they were talking to the listing agent. They weren't. They thought all these things were going on. And that's why it's important that you're educated and knowledgeable about what's going on behind the scenes with all of these things. And that's why it's important you subscribe to the Launch Button podcast because we keep you up to date on all of this. And, Seattle just dropped another lawsuit on them. So there's all these lawsuits that are going to continue through this process with Zillow and all the different things going on there. And that's why it's also important you're educated and you stay plugged in. So that you're educated and you stay plugged in. So with that being the case, we talked about dropping some new things for everybody here as they can get re-plugged in and be able to do some of the different things. So we're headed into April, and April 18th, we got a really big event coming up talking about unlocking your future. And this is going to combine all of the new things that we've been doing behind the scenes. We've been hinting at this, but we're really ready to go ahead and launch this with our team members from coast to coast. So again, from coast to coast. You've got the best of New York and you've got the best of the West Coast coming together to go out there and unleash some new training, some new opportunities, and some new platforms for everybody. So we're continuing to roll out our AI challenges, and we're going to be launching a new AI application for helping you find real estate deals. Now, a lot of people out there have been through my training how to find real estate deals in under 6 minutes. And, hundreds and thousands of you, actually thousands of you have found real estate deals in under 6 minutes. You said it was impossible, but we showed you how you can do it. We're actually going to turn that on steroids on April 18th. Because we're going to plug in one of our new AI real estate solutions that's going to work with bankruptcy and foreclosures so that you guys can go ahead and track down those homeowners. So it's going to be one of our new releases April 18th. For those of you guys in New York City, we're going to be rolling it out here first, and then we'll bring it around the country April 18th. If you're in the New York City metro area, New Jersey, Connecticut, wherever you happen to be, Long Island, come on in for the day because you're going to get some hands-on training, not just on the real estate, but we're going to show you how a lot of our team members are using AI, from writing books to becoming TikTok, creators, all these different things that are going on. We just had a video hit 150,000 views, had videos hit 300,000 views plus. So you want to understand how that you can be there. So April 18th, come on into the city. It's from 10 to 4 p.m. And then we get a tax write-off when we get to hang out afterwards, especially for our VIPs at that. So we've got Joe and Amanda two of our longtime real estate investors coming in as part of that. And we're going to be talking about the AI solution with them. We're going to be talking about real estate deals, creative financing, all sorts of things like that. We've got Jill Lemke as well, talking about how to leverage this to build community and write books. And then we've got Chris and Carly coming in from the West Coast, and they're pretty new for a lot of you, but some of you guys, you know them, some of you don't. They're going to be doing their Will to Survive training. The Will to Survive training. Now, most of us have traveled internationally, most of us have traveled in different places, and we've been doing it wrong the whole time. So they're going to talk to you about situational awareness, how to get out of like duct tape and different things like that, even handcuffs if you wanted to, but just to sort of understand that the mindset of being able to survive in any situation. So again, the mindset of being able to survive in any situation. For those of you guys that don't know Chris, he is what's called a SEER trainer, and he trains all of the top level military members back when he was in the military. And that includes the Navy SEALs, that includes the different high level groups in the Air Force, Marines, everything like that. And now he does that with Operation Black Site. And Carly, who happens to be from Tanzania originally, she's also a member of the Operation Black Site, and they traverse mountains together. They organize trips, adventure trips. So if you want to go on an adventure, you want that will to survive in any situation, you're definitely going to be here in New York City on April 18th from 10 to 4 p.m. for that event. And then we've got some cool things coming out in California. We're about ready to run some tests out there with our AI solution. So those of you guys that want to get in to be able to position yourself, whether that's making additional revenue, whether that's getting the right coaching and training that you need, whether that is just getting plugged into a community that does everything from staying on the bleeding edge. I didn't say leading, I said bleeding edge of technology in the AI future, all the way to what's happening with travel and adventure travel that you want to do. You want to be plugged in on April 18th. Come check it out. And if you get started before the end of the month, we're going to give you 24 hours to get in on our early bird special. And then if not, just cost you a little bit more, but it's still a write-off because you're going to be helping grow and expand your business. So definitely want to see everybody there with that. And as we're going ahead, so there's the link right there on the screen for everybody. If you're just on the podcast, we'll put the link below so that you guys can go ahead and do that. But definitely click register, commit now, so that you're setting yourselves up for future. And we've got a special bonus for everybody that registers, that you can even bring a guest at a special discount. But you got to register, and then we'll send you the details on that. So that's just a few of the things that are going on. We talk about proximity. We talk about some of the different things that are going on out there. We want to make sure that you're plugged in, and you're plugged into really what matters for you. Like, there's a lot of distractions out there, and there's a lot of things going on, but we got to be able to focus on what's driving revenue, what's making us money, and where to go. And sometimes it takes a step back. Like, we've definitely taken a little bit of a step back here to reorganize and be able to do these things. But all of a sudden, spring is here. People want to grow. People want to expand. People want to network. So come on down, enjoy the time with us, as well as everybody online. There's a couple different things that you can do. Number one, we've got our online challenge starting April 28th, 29th, and 30th. So if you want to be plugged in on that, go to yourailaunch.com and we'll get you plugged in on that. We're going to be talking about how we just hired some new developers. Some new opportunities are popping up left and right with our AI stuff. And so if you want to be plugged in there, you want to see your business grow, get rid of those $10 an hour tasks so that they can go out there and do that with that. And then also, we've got the real estate deals. We got the new real estate application. So if you stay plugged in, you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast channel or go to YouTube to grab it there as well. You're going to see as we start to announce and roll out our real estate AI platform so that you're plugged in on there. And there's just a whole bunch of launches coming, a whole bunch of things plugged in. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody live in person. We're looking forward to see everybody on our next online event, April 28th. So April 18th in person, April 28th online. Get there, get plugged in, and be there. And then you're going to hear some new announcements as we're coming to some different markets here to do events and be able to, really go out there. But these things that are happening with Zillow are happening in other places. And if you're not plugged in and you're not understanding what's going on in those different markets, then I really want you to subscribe just for you. Just subscribe and it's free. There's nothing to it for that. But just so you can stay up to date on all the different information that's going on. I'm sure it's not the end of the lawsuits with Zillow. I'm sure there's going to be lots of different things coming on. And then it's going to play out onto how many brokerages does it affect? Because certain brokerages were, sort of in cahoots with Zillow and all those things. So how does that antitrust play out? How does that monopoly play out for those different brokerages? What's the ramifications now that are coming through this? And then if you just look at, not getting too political, but with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, Bank of America just paid $75 million, right, to settle something, and they're not admitting they had anything to do with that. They're not admitting they facilitated everything, but there's all these different things. So there's going to be constant ripple effects. So yeah, constant ripple effects with the lawsuits that are going on against Zillow on how they get settled, whether it's an antitrust, whatever it happens to be, whether it's steering. There's definitely some different things going on, and that's going to change the way we go out there and do that, as well as with AI. So what if we can find deals for you with AI and it doesn't take 6 minutes, it takes 30 seconds? There's one for you. What if it doesn't take the 6 minutes that we used to do? We put our 6-minute deal on steroids and it only takes you 30 seconds to find a deal. That's what we're talking about here on how we can leverage, how we can use the power of AI, how we can go out there and make things happen. And I want you just to stay plugged in, follow along. We got some pretty cool podcast episodes coming up with Laura Langmeyer and a whole bunch of different people. So we'll see everybody on the next episode of the Launch Button Podcast. Have a great day. Well,
thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.